the 8th of June.
Good.
Already.
And we're talking today about social service skills versus technical service skills, and how much emphasis is usually put on technical versus social, and social should be complementing technical. So we're going to have some fun with this topic. Right, honey?
Absolutely. And I always like to think about this. We're finishing out the first 6 months of the year. We're into June. 20-some more days, and it's officially halftime of the year 2015. And so when we think about these topics as we go through each one, we're really preparing for a very, very strong second half. We want to finish the year strong. I think that this information should help us all in our training and really taking a look at the business and setting ourselves up for success in the second 6 months of 2015.
The way we look at social skills, I mean, Steve and I, if you don't know this already about us, we're big sports fans, and we look at social skills and technical skills as offense and defense. Now, people say that you win games, you win championships with good defense. You hear that all the time. And you also have to win championships with good offense. And we like to look at the technical skills and what we do for the guest as far as the product we deliver as offense. And our social skills is all the defense that we do in the salon. And if you think about our social skills, it's how do we defend what we do. That's our defense. It's how do we defend what we do, and how do we speak about it, and how do we pledge what we do to the guest. So it's a big focus on offense and defense, and understanding that they both need equal attention in our training and development of our staff.
You know, something I'd like to add on that is that right now there seems to be a fair amount of conversation in the beauty industry about soft skills. And I'm kind of rebellious against soft skills, or just the term being overused. I really think that it's not soft skills, it's the right skills. It's the right skills to add to the technical brilliance that this industry has gathered under, and a love of the craft and passion. And it has to do with everything that happens on the guest's behalf, which really is how they're escorted through the service process, and how they're welcomed into the business, and how the professionals that are, how they carry themselves. And just as Terry said, it is, I mean, defense is, you know, champions aren't crowned without a strong defense. But a lot of times it's offense that fills the stadium. People want to see the home run. They want to see the touchdown. And so the offense, I think, comes naturally in our business, because people want to see the finished result. They want to see that shiny, beautiful hair color. They want to see a good, crisp line on a haircut. And what they really want, though, is to feel better about themselves, feel more confident. And that comes from what we call the defense here, which is really all of the skills, everything from the hello to the goodbye that happens while they're in the salon being escorted through that service. So we move on to we are our conversation. This is something.
This is huge. I mean, I think the first time I heard this years ago, I realized, I mean, this was a light bulb moment for me in my life and my business career, because when you think about reputation that people have, so often we're meeting with an owner and asking them, you know, why is this person struggling? And they're baffled themselves, because the technical skills, their offense is very, very strong. They understand color. They understand hair placement, hair direction. They are a natural cutter in the salon, and they're doing very, very strong offense skills. I'm sorry, I swallowed incorrectly. But what they're struggling with is all their defense. They don't know how to defend what they do. Their conversation isn't strong. Everyone judges us by our conversation. Everything that we say, we are our conversation. What we think about is usually what we speak about. And if our conversation is weak in the salon, because we have to remember, this is a form of entertainment. You've got 45 minutes, probably at a minimum with a guest and longer. And are people easy to be around, difficult to be around? And we have to really help them understand that people are judging them, not just on their technical merit, but basically what they talk about, because we are our conversation.
And that includes what we think sometimes the guest wants to hear, which is personal conversation. We think that they want to hear about who we're dating, where we've been, what car we bought, what concert we've been to, what movie we just saw, when we last traveled, and all of those things. And while a guest is interested, remember that every time you look at a picture, you look for you first. Every time your guest sits in your chair, they want to hear about them first, about themselves. They want you to be incredibly interested in them and how they take care of their hair and the things that they do, and ready them for the end result, the reveal, which is going to be the opportunity to feel more confident about themselves. So yes, our conversation is what's going to take us personally and what's going to take our salon to the next level. What do we want to be known for? Do we want to be known? And I'll give you an example. I had a conversation this morning with a stylist friend who just moved to New York City and went to work in one of the marquee salons in New York City, and had been there for a month now. And the horror stories that came out of that were unbelievable. The working with assistants, and he said on a daily basis he was sworn at, he had things thrown at him, he was embarrassed. He had stylists that were in between putting foils in the hair and stopped to FaceTime their boyfriend. Now that may sound like an extreme, but I know every bit of that to be true. And second of all, what I had to tell this person is that's part of the theater of that salon. You may find it unacceptable, and you may find it repulsive, and all of those things, but the guests, just like there's somebody to watch every movie, there's someone to listen to every song, we build the clientele, we build the guest count that we want to build, that we want to attract. And if it's drama that they want to see when they come in, or drama that they do see, we're only going to be able to build a clientele that's fond of the drama.
Well, or that looks. I think that's a great assessment, because even if, Steve and I do not like horror movies. We just can't stand them. We just don't want to be scared to death and frightened for 2.5 hours. However, there are people that can't wait for the next scary movie to come out. And the more scary and threatening it is, the more they love it. Steve and I don't like roller coasters, but there's people that love it. So you've got to find, when you determine what kind of salon you have to be, that's the guest you're trying to attract, not the opposite of that. That also means that that's the staff that you are also trying to attract. So you've got to find what kind of salon you want, what you want your reputation to be, hire people that want her in that, and find guests that enjoy that, and you've got a winning combination.
And a successful way to do that we have recommended for some time now is take a look at other businesses that attract the type of guest that you want in your salon. So a retail store, a fine restaurant, whatever it is that you see, the type of guests that you want in your salon. And then it's research. How can you translate that to our conversation, to our decor, to our service ethic, and our culture? And so it's just a bit of homework and research that really should be done. All right, Frederic Fekkai. Here we're talking about, and please know that the story that I just told, it was not Frederic's salon. Frederic also has a very highbrow salon in New York City. And more than his salon in New York City, I want to talk about years ago, the very first time that I saw Frederic in Chicago at the ABS show. I saw him perform every time that he had a stage presentation. And just before he ended, I would stand by the doorway because I wanted to listen to the people as they were leaving it to what they thought. Frederic was is a very charismatic and interesting man in his own right. And the things that I heard at first were, and what I knew, my first watch, I knew I could go onto the clinic, onto the show floor and bring back 4 or 5, maybe even as many as 10 people that were either attending or working at the show that were more technically brilliant than Frederic. And then I listened to people as they were leaving, and they said, oh, he can just do that. He's just a big name because he's French. Another said, just a big name because he's a guy. Just a big name because he has that accent. Just a big name because he's handsome. And they had all the reasons why he could be Frederic and they couldn't. And it was almost like they were accusing him of cheating because he was French and had an accent and was a man and was good looking. And you know, I mean, that's his circumstance. But what I thought was so interesting is by the second or third time he did the show, he stood up there and he said to people, he said, look, I am not the best technical hairdresser in this room, and I know it. However, what I know is so important are the things that I'm going to share with you. And he was up there with his team. And there were several things that I noticed about him. And he really was, as Terry said, ahead of his time. And it was these right skills that he was demonstrating. But he was also demonstrating disciplines. It's the skills and the way we escort people through, but it's also being disciplined so that it becomes our way at our salon. So a couple of things that I noticed. First of all, he addressed every guest standing up. First of all, he would welcome them, sit them in the chair. He would put a cape on them. And the cape was always put on exactly the same way. He was in exactly the same position. He fastened the cape in exactly the same way. And then he asked the guest to stand up. And he would look at them from all different angles. He would surround them and look at them as he was doing his consultation or his image profile.
Mm-hmm.
His movements were as much like a dance as they were but a very consistent dance over and over again with every guest that I saw him do, every model I saw him touch. His pass-offs to his assistants, which he had, I think, 4 or 5 assistants on stage, and that was always the same, absolutely identical, and it was in the most professional way imaginable. The assistants always did the exact same things with the guest. So he would do his part, the consultation and the cut, and then they would do of course, the finish.
Well, they would even use their brushes the same way.
Oh, absolutely.
They would dust off the guest in the same way. Very, very much an orchestrated dance. And one of the things that he said from stage, and Steve came out and got me, and he said, you're going to love this because of the disciplines that he's incorporated in his salon, is he shared with the audience that every week they have a technical night of training, and then they have a dialogue night of training. And that's why we say he's ahead of his time, because now we understand he was creating offense and defense strength in his business. And he knew that if he provided that with technical disciplines and social disciplines, it was going to be an environment that was so contagious and so high touch service that it would be hard to beat him. And he proved that to be true.
And of course, as a result, the price for his haircut at the time was astronomical, again, way ahead of its time. And he grew a name for himself that attracted the likes of Chanel and wound up with his own product brand and etc. And not building. I mean, I do admire what he's done, but not saying he's the end all be all. Just saying the choices he made at the time where he began in America were critical choices. That came
very
from
specific.
A hairdresser that was very, very passionate and knew the guests that he wanted in his salon and in his chair. And some of those are just the same. We get so busy. Terry and I have teased before about We get busy making the donuts. Well, you know what? The donuts have to be made. People are going to line up outside the door. The donuts have to be made. The haircuts have to be done. The color has to be done. The color has to be there. The products have to be there. But at the same time, how do we find that time to slow ourselves down as leaders, as keepers of the vision, and determine exactly what things we need to have in place and what becomes our way of doing things in the salon, and then how do we duplicate that? See, it's absolutely critical that we have it in place, that we practice it, but then that we also can train it, because if it can't be duplicated, we're going to let a lot of our clients down.
And how do we define down is let's go to a restaurant, and you go to a place and it's an outstanding meal, and the next time you've even shared with friends how good it was, and the next time they missed the mark. And they could have missed it in service, they could have missed it in product, but they missed it, and they gave permission for us to go somewhere else and not discuss them anymore. So when we look at this next slide is going to give you some ideas of what that first year should look like when people are training and developing. And what we're going to be referring to a lot during the rest of this call is what does the first 3 months look like, 4 to 6 months, 7 to 9 months, 10 to 12 months, and then ongoing of social training development. Like, for example, and this could all be written out in your structure, but we wanted to give you some ideas of how to create a social training commitment, as well as, go back one please, Steve, as well as a technical training commitment. So when we're looking at the first 3 months, we're going to be focusing on what do we say during the greeting, the consultation, and the cleanse. 4 to 6 months would be everything we say and how we defend our styling and cutting methods. And 7 to 9 months would be style and color, and styling and finishing, and then ongoing. But we're going to have a night or maybe hours dedicated to how we discuss and do the social side of these services, not just the technical, the social side.
Okay.
So when we think about our way during those 3 months, what is our body language that we use? What is the eye contact that we teach and give them little tricks of the trade with eye contact? What is the professional exchange and pass-off with guests, with our team? And what is our service chatter? What does it sound like? Because sometimes we just think they'll pick it up being there versus teaching these things and helping them understand that these are specific, they're not generic. We're going to teach them that we're giving professional recommendation during the consultation, professional recommendation during the cleanse, during those first 3 months. We're going to help them understand what manners are and chair side manner, and also, once again, professional pass-off with the guest, because it's critical versus generic. We're going to make ours specific and unique. And this is for a salon that really wants to deliver that upscale service and disciplines that they can bank on. And the guests can bank on it, and so can the team during our development. This is what they can expect from us.
And remember, motivation gets us started on something like this. Inspiration gets us started on something like this. But it's discipline that sees us through. And just like Terry said, sometimes you go back to a favorite restaurant because of something they did or a dish that you had, and it's no longer on the menu, or you happen to be there on a night when they're not performing well from a service standpoint.
Or you've got a trainee that can't talk about that menu item the way the first person did.
And it's extremely disappointing, and it actually, even though you may have delivered something of the same quality, it didn't feel like the same quality. So when we look at these things in the salon, we're looking at them and say, and you may add your own, you may delete some of these from your list. Remember that our way means it becomes your way, the way that you want to escort guests through the service experience, the way that you want to be represented in the community. And therefore, it needs to speak very clearly, but it also needs to be every guest every time. It doesn't matter how good we are any one time. It matters how good we are consistently over time.
So when you look at our dialogue that we're going to use during this, I mean, this is just some of the things of your way, whatever your salon is. And we have more of them. The way we carry ourselves. Is it natural versus forced, easy versus awkward? How can I define this? There's just some people that you have to tell them that their natural way is awkward, and you have to help them understand the difference between easy to be around and awkward to be around. And I used to teach this to waitresses. So I used to tell them, our job as a waitress is to assist and be an accessory to the meal, meaning we're going to enhance the service, but it's going to be with such silence and poise that no one will even know that we're doing it. And then you've got a waitress that wants to say every single thing she's doing. Let me move your glass. Let me give you salt and pepper. Let me take your plate away. And no one cares. That's being awkward because you're an interruption. And what I had to teach them is just do it. The customers slow you down. They shouldn't have to speed you up. And if they're not done, they'll stop you. But just do it with grace and poise and be as little of a distraction, and they won't even know you're doing it. And when you've been at a restaurant and you're enjoying great company, and all of a sudden your dirty plate's gone and you didn't even see them take it, that's outstanding service. Mm-hmm. And you're going to teach them. I mean, this is what drives me crazy. Your plate is completely empty, and they'll say, "Are you done with that? Seriously?" I mean, yes, I am. I'm not going to lick it. I always say that. No, I'm going to lick it. Please don't take it yet. But no, just take the plate away and let that guest get comfortable just enjoying their company. So you're going to teach them how we say, in your salon's way, how we say hello, how do we give a recommendation, how you deliver the farewell, how you serve, how you guide them through the salon, how we speak about rescheduling, our way of talking about upselling the menu, and take home. Now, we're also, during this first year, and some might do it faster, some might need more time, is we need to teach them how to pace their personality. And Steve, you just went through this recently.
Yes, we hired someone with an incredible resume, incredible experience in one of the areas in our school, and we hired her because of that talent, because of what she brought to the team. Yet when she started, to everyone that she worked with, in a way, she had to earn the right to bring out her resume. She had to earn the right to give advice, because the first thing that she needed to do was to learn the way that we do it. Mm-hmm. And the staff needed to see her learn the way that we do it. And then she could, and Terry and I always refer to that as pacing your personality. It's just, if you come in like a bull in a china shop, even though you can, you're going to, kind of damage some of your potential opportunity versus making the most of it.
I think that's a great point, and it's the leadership's job to pace the personality, even with someone that's totally a talent. I mean, Phil Jackson did it better than anybody. Mm-hmm. He had to take these young men that were the stars in their community, and a lot of times stars in their college community, and bring them in and say, "Okay, rookie, bring it down a notch. You need to learn how I coach this team, and then we'll let your talent soar. But you've got to learn how we think first." And that's one of the things that you're going to teach, especially during the beginning. This is how you carry yourself. And even if I started at your salon tomorrow, or Steve started at your salon tomorrow, people would expect a lot of us. But the first thing they want to know is they want to see how we're going to be committed to the way you do it at your salon first. So it wouldn't be time to bring out our guns yet. We'd have to earn the right by paying the price and honoring the process already in place, and then we can give suggestions. So pacing their personality is really, really key. And then something silently, but it's something that your team should understand, is our service social pledge. You need to create one. We're going to ask you to create a technical pledge as well, but what is our social pledge? What is our defend pledge, our defense pledge? And this is going to help them understand. So many times they're like, this isn't that difficult. Why don't they understand how we do it here? It's because we didn't teach how we do it here and expected them just to get it by by watching us. I'd love to see some comments if you could share any with us on what you're thinking as we go through, too. Okay, let's go on to the next one.
Okay.
Some of the things that we can
Terry,
say.
one thing before we move on. I just want to be sure everyone understands with this, our service social pledge. There's so much talk about social media. I want to be sure that that's not what Terry's talking about.
That's not part of this. No.
So please don't misunderstand.
This is our service pledge on the inside. We just hired a girl at PSC with a great customer service background. Now we've put them through a month of training at PSC, and hopefully even at PSC you can understand that our service pledge to you is that we're easy to do business with, and we create the service steps for accuracy, for quality, so we can partner with you when we're taking your orders, and that our dialogue is always consistent, and we really try to bring someone on. That first thing we have to teach the first week they're here is how we think here, and the second week, and the third week, and the fourth week. And I think Jackie's in her 5th week of training now. Outstanding resume. And she's going to create a really nice position here at PSC, and I can see the depth that she'll bring to our team. But she had to learn it first, and all the systems that go with it. And she understands our service pledge completely and the dialogue that has to go along with that.
Mm-hmm. And so now, Terry, in the same right, did I skip one too many?
Yeah, I did. I think you did, honey.
Let me go back.
Steve's driving the PowerPoint today.
I don't get it. Okay. This is the one we should. No, we just did that one.
No, we did that one. Okay.
Sorry. Okay, we're on target.
So now, what's really nice about this is the technical training commitment. The topics are going to be the same, but now this will be the technical side of the same things they're working on socially. So what's really nice about this is for the first 0 to 3 months, not only are they learning the greeting, the consultation, and the cleanse, and the homework and everything else that goes along with it, but they're going to be learning how to speak it, how to carry themselves socially, their social skills, their eye contact. Here they're going to be performing the cleanse, performing the consultation, and performing the greeting. And the cleanse is probably the more technical of all of these, but you're doing social and technical, same topic at the same time.
Mm-hmm. And so with each of those, not only are you taking them through the dialogue of it and the right skills that we talked about, but we're taking them through then measurable, practicable, technical ways that we do things in the salon. So for example, if you have a preferred greeting for an existing and a brand new guest, we need to train that and talk about the importance of that so that they understand it. Again, going back to the why sometimes is so critically important. If they understand why we do it in the way that we do it, or why it's important that they do it in that way, versus leaving it to chance. Many salons leave the greeting totally to chance. And sometimes people get it right, the naturals get it right, and the people that are a little bit more shy or a little bit more timid or don't feel like they've got the confidence to do that, they mess up the greeting. You know, that age-old
or it's awkward. Or
yeah,
it's awkward, or they look
awkward.
and they're not comfortable until they start the technical side, because socially they're inadequate, technically they're brilliant. We have a great question that supports this topic that we're talking about right now. It says, sometimes the new hire feels as though we're trying to change them and they're not open to our salon culture, even though they said they were. How do you help them with that adjustment? Well, first of all, the hard part is, and there's a couple of things I'm going to say on this, and there's a couple of stories. Number one, it's your job to help them with that. Number two, you have to say, no, not like that, like this. Not like that, like this. I mean, remember, this isn't their family room. This is the business. We're not trying to change them in their personal life, but we're going to help them understand how we do it here. I remember when Magic Johnson was, I think a year ago or two now, and I'm such a fan of any athlete. I am. I'm gonna be a name dropper. But I'm such a fan, and Steve and I are, when we're around people that have created and earned and accomplished that kind of greatness in their sport or in their business climate, it's so attractive to be around them because they made it. And Magic was talking, and he said, I'll take some questions. So I stood up right away and I said, first of all, I wanted Steve to know that Magic and I were looking at each other. That's funny. Okay. So what I said to Magic is, what did you do when you were with the Lakers and you brought in a rookie player that had all the natural talent, all of it, but their head got in their way, the ego got in the way because they were this star on the horizon? And he said, we got rid of them as quickly as possible. We couldn't afford the distraction to our culture. We couldn't afford the distraction to our game. Either they figured it out or they couldn't be there. So that's kind of what the answer is going to be to your question. Even though they said they were up to learning our culture, they're forgetting that it's not just about the technical side. It's about everything else that we represent, and it's our job to help them. And when you have a training program that has social and technical, and you outline it as such, helping them understand there's two facets to this job, I think you're going to help with this too, helping that. And when you interview, you're going to tell them that too. This is how we do it here socially. I mean, you know Disney, it's not just how you operate the ride. It's not how you just take and make sure someone's stamped to go on the ride. It's everything that you say, how you look, how you carry yourself, so you complement the Disney way. I mean, they can't go down there and say, I don't support this whole Mickey Mouse thing, and you're trying to change me. No, it's not about you. It's about Disney. So I hope I answered that question. Let me know if we did. So the technical side of your training and development is all going to be about the same things you're covering socially. So we covered that. And once again, Frederic had a dialogue night and a technical night every week for people that needed it. Okay.
Mm-hmm. All right. Body position, body language, eye contact, all of these things, don't think that they come naturally. I mean, I've been around, oh, geez, how'd this happen? Okay.
So, for example, how do we do the shampoo, the greet, the cut, the color, the drape, the check our work? All of this we do is because it's specific to how we create all of these things. I mean, what is our body position when we're shampooing? What should our body position and posture be during, and the eye contact and our language be during the greeting, cut, color, drape, check our work? They could be different, they could be the same. I think there's some differences here, and they need to be taught that. When you've got people that just drape and it looks sloppy, like you could have someone put a drape on a picnic table and look very elegant, and someone else looks like they're cleaning the garage. There's a big difference, and we want to make them, what they're doing, look more special. And so you're going to teach all this. And when they look awkward, you have to say you look awkward. I can remember telling servers all the time, you place a cup of coffee on the table and it looks like we're having an earthquake. You've got to get more comfortable doing that. You've got to be able to refill coffee and not look nervous. You look awkward, and people sit back when you come with the coffee pot because you look like you're going to spill hot coffee on them. I can remember telling people, I used to teach them how to carry a glass, and if you work at PSC, I still teach that. And it's because I can deliver a glass of water and no one even know I'm there because there's no noise. It doesn't hit the table long and loud. And you do that with grace. Those are the same things I'm talking about that you have to teach them how to do a shampoo. Do they lean over the customer too much trying to get to the conditioner, and now the customer's uncomfortable? During the greeting, do they greet and turn their back too soon versus making eye contact? So there's so much that you can teach them during the process to make them look stronger in each one of these categories.
Absolutely. And again, remember, they are measured steps, they are measured disciplines, and please know, personality will always come through. But we know the difference between fine dining and fast food service. And
we
that's
also
really,
know the difference between fine dining and a diner, right?
Sure.
And
Sure.
how loud is a diner where they bust right out loud and they're slamming because they're trying to turn it over quickly, and it's all about speed. It's not about the experience, it's about speed. And can you imagine being in a fine dining restaurant and a busboy slamming everything in his, whatever you call those, plastic totes? Big difference. And that's when you decide what kind of salon you want to be, you have to understand the differences there too.
Okay. How do we talk about the things that we do? That makes a big difference. And again, it's putting them in the proper kind of mental state to do that, but then also describing them with words that engage. Remember that they call it a romance language for a reason, and that's, I think, because we like to hear great dialogue. We get caught up in great dialogue. And so when we're recommending take-home, it is our professional recommendation. It's one of our critical differences. It's something that people are licensed to be able to do. And to make sure that we're announcing that what I'd like to do today now before you leave is to kind of sum up my professional recommendation for your at-home needs. And then, so you've done it, my professional recommendation. My experience tells me. What a great way to put that. My experience. And you could preface it from having my hands in thousands of heads of hair. My experience tells me that this would be the best for you. Skillful hands. That's a beautiful way, and we saw that first. Terry, it was a restaurant, wasn't it?
It was a restaurant.
They were talking about their chefs.
Their chefs' skillful hands have taken great honor in serving your dinner tonight. Skillful hands. Loved it. And I said, oh, that's going in my pocket right now.
Mm-hmm.
As your service provider, this is my job to make sure that we've delivered the experience. It's our pledge to you. Whatever you want to say, but as your service provider, not, is everything okay? How do you like it? Put some romance words in to support how you really feel about your craft. And someone that wants to do change but is afraid, put your fear in our hands. We all understand. And so our job is to deliver the service because you're looking for change and you want to achieve something new. Put your fear in our hands.
Another thing that I think is important is when you do the end reveal, when you're taking the cape off, never, ever, ever ask your guests to be more excited than you are about the finished result. It's not a what do you think, how do you like it? It's, oh my God, this looks incredible on you. It turned out exactly as we had hoped.
As we discussed, yes.
You look terrific. And don't ask them to be more excited. They will if you don't take the lead, because they're looking at them, and they do look better. But let's make that a celebration together that we arrived. It's funny because the medical profession is trying to find these right skills. They're trying to find people skills that connect them to the families of their patients. And it's no doubt, I mean, I can't imagine a surgeon coming out after surgery and sitting down with a family member and saying, yeah, we're done. I just can't imagine that. They come out, and it's the most personality you see out of them. Everything went terrific. In recovery, doing well. I know she'll want to see you in just a few moments. The surgery was absolutely perfect. That's what you want to hear, and that's what they want to hear with their hair. Went exactly as planned. It's absolutely terrific. I love the way this dimension, this color looks on you. It brings out this, it brings out that. Things that the naturals, those of you that are on this call are in a lot of cases owners, and and you're where you're at because you're naturals at this. But don't think that the people you bring on board are going to be naturals, and don't wait for them to become, an overnight natural 7 years later. Test out to make money.
Well, I think there's a couple parts to this. I'm really wondering why we don't allow a young talent to test out to make money for you. For example, let's say they're a natural at color touch-ups. We don't have to wait a year for them to do color touch-ups. Let them start earning money on that category once they test out, and their social skills as well as their ability to do all-over color tests out on you. Now, if you're just having them test out on the technical side, I think you're going to lose. So they've got to test out on both. But once they accomplish that kind of greatness, let them make money in that category. I don't think the clock is more important than the accomplishment. But remember, once again, it's double-sided. The way they carry themselves, what they talk about, how they think, their professional image, and everything has to support the all-over color. We were witnessing something and I couldn't believe how sloppy some of the color was being done by people that were really leaders in an environment, but the color was sloppy. So socially, they were really, really good at talking about color. Their technical application was a mess. And so a guest never wants to look like a bad canvas when they're done. And we can't just say, well, that'll come off in a couple days or a couple shampoos. They want it to be clean and precise, like a nice chef station. So make sure that you're looking at that part too. How does the guest look during the process?
And understand that if we're not looking at both the verbal skills and the technical skills, it takes time to connect the mouth with the hands. We've all seen people on stage that are good at it and people on stage that are terrible at it. They're great hair cutters, but they don't talk at all when they're working. It's because they haven't connected their mouth and their words with what they're doing technically. And so in the salon, every 30 to 60 minutes, it is showtime, and it's time for that to take place, because a guest feels if we're that silent, they feel like something is wrong rather than something's going very, very right. And so as a leader, as a trainer, it's important that you know that they're making that transition. What does someone talk about while they're blow drying hair? What do they talk about while they're cutting hair? What do they talk about during the consultation? And have they connected? A lot of times in the consultation or image profile, they have the words, but they haven't connected their body position or their hands to those words. What should the hands be doing during that consultation? So it's kind of like we're really good at one or the other, but we haven't connected both. And so this is the time before we ask them, before we turn them loose. And I do think it's great to turn them loose as they test out. I know from the school side of it, that's what they want. They want to be in a trainee program, and they want you to be hard on them, but they also want the opportunity, if they've paid the price or if they've done the work, they want the opportunity to get behind the chair in some way, shape, or form. And it works for you too, because it also starts to mitigate the cost of having them as a trainee. Okay. So
when we look at appraisals, excuse me, we need to be doing ongoing during their time: an attitude appraisal, a technical skill appraisal, and a social skill appraisal. And we need to be doing these ongoing. And remember, all three of them are equally important. All three of them. And when I'm interviewing, if I were interviewing for salon positions, I would let them know I will be looking at your attitude, your technical, and your social appraisals ongoing during that first year, so they can know what they can expect and what you're looking for. So many times we don't hit the mark because we don't tell them what we expect from them. And then we tell them we're disappointed, and they'll say, I didn't even know that that was something you were looking at. This is something that I'm really excited about, and it's something I would help them understand, because right now, let's say we're releasing them to the floor, so it says on floor. Now this is after they're done with their training, so 0 to 3 months, 4 to 6, 7, 9, 10 to 12, 12 and ongoing, or over 12. What I'm thinking right now, and I really haven't talked about this with Steve yet, but I want to get his feedback too when we're on the phone, is I want to tell them that during their first 3 months when they get to the floor, I'm trying to, as their owner, that 100% of their traffic is going to come from the salon during those first 3 months. If they bring in some, that's icing on the cake, but 100% of their traffic I'm shooting for to be overflow from the salon, and for people that are coming in based on the salon's reputation that the established staff can no longer take because they're fully committed, that I'm requiring them for their first 3 months to now take their training out for a ride and a spin. So 0, I'm looking for them. During the 4 to 6 months, excuse me, I'm looking for 75% be provided by the salon, 25% provided by the hairdressers. Now remember, I gave them traffic in those first 3 months. Those people should start to return if they kept them. So 75 and 25% should be a realistic number. 7 to 9 months, 50 and 50, 10 to 12, 25% from the salon, 75% from the owner. And in a year's time, if we've done this right and we taught them how to keep a guest, that's why our training has to be specific, honest, and bring out the greatness in them. 100% they should be on their own after 12 months. When we have this conversation, once again, we're telling them what their expectations are. They usually will give you, especially this millennial age, if they know what you're looking for, they'll give it to you. And we're trying to create repeat guests and traffic. Steve, what do you think?
I like it. I like it as a guideline.
It's a guideline because if we see progress,
perfect sense. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it gives the opportunity for them to take over as time goes on, and as they're more comfortable, and as more. I mean, when you realize what putting numbers like that into someone's chair is that what really we're saying is that by the time 10 to 12 months is over, they should be close to being scheduled at that point if they've retained.
Now, if they haven't, there's a problem with our training program, or there's a problem with our employee.
They're resisting, yeah.
That's right.
Okay, so Anthony's asked a question, and it says, in our salon we tend to be more quiet, and the guests tend to be more on the quiet side. What do we do to bring more entertainment value to the experience?
Oh, that's a great question.
It really is. I think that there's a couple of things. First of all, remember we said there's an audience for every movie. And so it could be that your audience is telling you that that quiet side is one of the things they enjoy about your service and about your salon. I think that personally, another example of that, there's been a time where Terry went in for a facial, and they said to Terry, would you like to have us go through the steps of the facial now, and what we'll be doing and the products we'll be using, and then sum that up at the end, just before you leave, with what we recommend, and that way you can just drift away and enjoy your service, or would you like me to announce each step and the product used while you're receiving your facial? Now, how does that translate to the salon? I think that there can be times where you could make that available to your guest and say, you know what, would you like me to be able to talk more about your hair and how you'll maintain it, and take you through the best ways to work with your hair on a daily basis at home as I'm working with you and as I'm cutting your hair? Or would you like me to make sure that I leave time at the end to summarize and provide my professional recommendation before you leave?
Good. Also, I would wonder, what kind of music are you playing in there? Do you have any theme days, or can you create celebration days, like Red Hot Lips Day and have some fun with that, with the whole staff wearing and creating some more noise that way with the whole staff wearing red lips and maybe a certain kind of hairdo that day. But are you having enough fun with your customers? And do they want to have fun? Remember, your audience could say, this is exactly how we like it. Now, what does prime time look like? Is prime time quiet too? Is prime time a little bit more upbeat so we could bring up the tempo of the music a little bit during prime time? Take it out and look and say, when is our guest more on the quiet side? And is the staff ready for a little bit more excitement? And do they want to play with the guests a little bit more? You can't, sometimes to get a party going, it takes someone to step out of the comfort zone and say, okay, let's liven this thing up a little bit. Who's that going to be in your salon to get that party going if you want a little bit more noise and a little bit more excitement?
Great. Hope we answered that, Anthony. If not, you know we're always available. So, next slide.
Is we want to look at the number one thing that is the number one responsibility of every hairdresser is to create a repeat guest. And it goes back to, we're going to fill the chair here, here, here. So it's your job to diligently manage the guests that you're putting in their chair. And these are the quality control checks that we're looking at to see if that hairdresser that you've built for this last year is maintaining the guests that are coming to them now that we've turned over to them on behalf of the salon. Are they rescheduling that guest? If they're not, that's a problem. We're going to look at the service dollar per guest. If it's only the price of the haircut and they're not upgrading at all or upselling the menu, we probably have some issues there too. Take-home dollar per guest, if they're not selling any take-home and you've taught them how to do that and know that they can, there's a problem. Pace, if it's taken too long and that you've given them an hour for a haircut at first, it's taken them an hour and a half or an hour and 15, we have to work on timing them a little bit better. And are they bringing in new referrals? Because the guests that they're doing, if they are keeping them, should be creating another level of guests for them. So these are the quality control checks that you're monitoring very, very closely each and every time you give a new guest based on the salon's reputation. And if we're not hitting yeses on all these, then we've got to go back to the training board and bring them back in. Just because they went through a year doesn't mean they're done training and developing. And if their numbers are where they need to be, maybe they're excused from training and development. If they're not hitting these, they're going to understand that 12-month time does not mean that you're not going to be mandated back into the training if these things aren't in place. Steve?
And it can be on any one of these topics. There can be people, if they don't hit the take-home dollar per guest, we will pull them into a training solely on the dialogue and the process of take-home. If their service dollar per guest isn't where it needs to be within the acceptable standard, then more than likely there's some things that we need to cover again on that. If their future reservation or rescheduled percentage isn't where it should be, it really comes down to dialogue. It comes down to
the beauty of this. Go ahead, honey. I'm sorry I interrupted.
No, you can go ahead.
Well, when you look at take-home dollar per guest, this is where there is social or offense and defense. You can say to them, what does sculpting foam do, or what does spray wax do? And they give you everything about it. They know it. They just don't know how to talk about it with a guest. They'll call it sales, but it's really how we present ourselves and what we say and how we say it. And there might not be enough romance involved in it. I think that a lot of times when someone says, what's the difference between selling and just being passionate about something? You take them in and say, okay, talk to me about one of your favorite things in life. It could be your pet, it could be a vacation spot, it could be your best friend, it could be a parent, it could be a mentor. Talk to me for a minute about anything, one of your favorite things in life. And you'll watch them absolutely light up when they talk about their dog. And you say, that's what I'm talking about. You didn't sell me on your dog. You just talked to me about something that you were passionately connected with. And when you figure out how to be passionately connected to your career like you are to your dog, you're going to win. And they can't have a wrong answer. That's why they're not afraid to talk about it. They can't have a wrong answer when they're talking about their pet. But when you ask them, talk to me about spray wax, they're going to choke up thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to leave a benefit out, something that she's going to know better than I do. And when they can connect the two, that's when they're going to win with their guests. That's when they're going to win in the salon. And that's when it really becomes unstoppable success. So let's take these last 4 minutes to answer any questions or give us comments on this topic, please.
So we can unmute everyone?
Yeah, unmute. You can unmute or they can write, because that was our last slide. Oh my gosh, no one has anything to say?
Okay,
That's
so while
very
you're
unusual.
while you're writing or giving us information, some of the things that I usually say about the quality control checks is to make it a little bit silly. I mean, I can't imagine somebody who's not happy today saying, oh my God, I want to hate my hair this much in 5 weeks. Put me down. It's one of the reasons why we take that so seriously when they don't. When the net effect is that they haven't set up a future reservation. They're not trusting us with more of their money through additional services, through purchasing our recommendations for take-home. They're never sending us a referral. Those are temporary guests. Those are people that so far have not received what we talk about, what we believe in service here in our salon. And so those are training opportunities. Those are things that we want to be able to single out, go back after, and realize that training is never ever done. You're never done with training.
And I think another thing that I want to add to that is it's everyone's job in the salon to help this new person become something special. And you know what? They'll say, hey, no one ever helped me, so I want them to sweat and have a hard time just like I did. The job of the future is to make success easier. They should never have to take as long as we all did. And so it's every senior's job on staff to take a vested interest, because this new person is part of our reputation too. They're now one of us. Magic Johnson didn't have the luxury to create separation with the rookies. He had to embrace them, especially if they honored him the way he was going to honor them, to help them become a great member of the Lakers organization. And sometimes we still see, and the new employees will say, I still feel an us and them. Yeah, we have to pay our price, but we also need to know that everyone on staff is going to bring out the greatness in you, and everyone on staff is committed. So we want you to toughen up a little bit as we bring you along. Those are the kind of conversations we have to have with our new talent. And most owners don't like confrontation or really hate this part of the job, but it's necessary. And being honest with them is the greatest gift we can give them as we are committed to helping them be great in this business. Everyone, thank you so much for today. I mean, we enjoy this hour with you, and we love that they're archived so we can resource them at a later time should we need to. Please send us any comments or questions. Go ahead.
Do we send out the link for the archives so they know where they can get them to re-listen to any of the
I believe Jennifer does that. Jenny, are you on? Do you do that?
I'm here.
Do you send out that link afterwards, Jen?
Yes, by the end of the week they get it.
Great.
Automatically, everyone that registered for it will get it.
Great. Happy June,
Sure.
everyone.
Thank
Go make
you.
some great
Get
noise
ready for
out
the
there.
second half.
And I,
Right.
I was a cheerleader for 11 years, so go offense and go defense. Make some noise.
Thanks
I
again.
just did a jump. They didn't get to see it.
A herky?
A herky. I did it.
All
All right. Good day, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.